Hello there, I'm Lorna Scott. I'm the CEO and founder of Inverroche in South Africa. And it's my honor today to address you and deal with some of the questions that you may be interested in as we launch Inverroche in the UK. What did I do before creating Inverroche? Before I started making gin, I had a very checkered career and spent my first half of my life traveling across the world as an air hostess for South African Airways. I was also based in Scotland for a very long time when I worked for a food services company and did a stint as both an operations manager as well as a marketing executive, and then returned home. And here I became involved with politics and ended up as the deputy mayor for our local municipality, and discovered that we had the most extraordinary resources at hand that would become the ingredients that I ended up making gin from. Why did I decide to create gin and the inspiration behind this endeavor? During my time as deputy mayor, I discovered this extraordinary resource. The distillery is in Still Bay, and it is right in the middle of the world's smallest and most diverse and richest floral kingdom called the Cape Floral Kingdom. It is also within striking distance of two of the world's most famous archaeological sites. One is called Blombos Cave and the other one is Pinnacle Point. And here they discovered the first traces of modern human beings going back about 150,000 years ago, where we became sentient, where we became creative, modern, thinking human beings. And it is a combination of this discovery of the origins of everybody who is alive on the planet today that also survived on the very plants that I now make my gin from 150,000 years ago. That was the inspiration behind the brand, because I thought that if I could find a way to create a luxury product that could talk about what it means to be one family and all of us from one home by using those very ingredients that helped us to survive all that many years ago, I could start conversations to talk about the things that we have in common and not only about the things that divide us. What can a visitor expect when visiting Inverroche Distillery in Still Bay? First of all, we're about 4.5 hours drive from Cape Town. And when you come down the N2, you pass these extraordinary majestic mountains and you drive through this fragrant veld. And there's no doubt about it that you're going to a place that is exceptional. You turn off and in front of you is this very old homestead, about 150 years old. It used to be my home, and we bought this about 15 years ago. And originally it was really just a small, tiny little distillery in the garage, and it grew and grew, and what is now the main reception used to be my bedroom. So the distillery itself is an experience. It is our brand home in the fullest sense of the word. When you arrive, you will not only meet the most amazing people, but you'll be able to experience all of these different botanicals that we've discovered that we now use in our gin. Our pot still, Magnanimous Meg, is an original pot still, copper, no less, wood-fired still, and she was made specially for us. The idea behind this was also to create a very unique process to be able to harness the botanicals that we use that were very extraordinary. Many of these botanicals are very gentle florals, and some of them are berries. We use some roots. And so my son actually designed a system whereby we do a vapor infusion as well as a boiling system that we've combined. And so Magnanimous Meg got her name, by the way, from the novel St. Ronan's Well. And so she is also very irascible, but very generous still, that helps us to coax these extraordinary flavors very gently and very patiently, that we then send off to the UK for you to try. What is the process that we use to make Inverroche Gin? It takes Inverroche Gin about a year to get into the bottle that you will enjoy. And the reason for this is because we actually harvest most of our ingredients by hand, and different plants mature at different times and are picked when they're ready. We then use that in a different way as well. Some of them are put into tinctures, some of them are used fresh, and some of them are dried. So by the time we're ready to actually distill, we combine all of this in a triple system, in fact. So some of it is placed into a vapor basket, and others are steeped in the actual spirit itself, which, by the way, we prefer to use a neutral spirit, which is a sugarcane base, because of the more subtle sweet notes as opposed to a grain base or a grape base. So this is steeped for about 48 hours. And then when the distillation starts, and these are all small batches, we produce about between 800 and 900 bottles per batch. It's a very slow process, which is a combination, as I've mentioned, vapor as well as the steep process. But the interesting thing is that post-distillation, we have two elements that differentiates us from others. First of all, we do a one-shot process, which means we do not dilute our gin with neat raw spirits after it's been distilled. The spirit is placed into stainless steel tanks, and then a secondary infusion takes place, which is where the color that you see in the gin comes from. So it is not a colored gin, it is not artificially infused in any shape or form. Our gins obtain its secondary color from a selection of the ingredients that's also been used in the distillation process, and it's then steeped for a further couple of days, and that lovely color that then is infused into the spirit is simply just clarified with a process of filtering, which just literally polishes it and doesn't take out any color. And so that is what you see in your bottle. Please make sure that you do not put your bottle in direct sunlight, because the UV will affect the color. And you will also expect sometimes that the color is not exactly the same. This is a testament to the fact that every single bottle is unique. Every harvest is different and is in fact a limited edition. What has been the biggest challenges that we faced? When I started Inverroche, it was all about sharing the story of our common origins, and also about the very close connection between humans and the planet, and the plants in particular, in the very place where we survived. And the underpinning of our whole brand story and the values really is about that interconnectedness between the environment and people. And it's also about the subtle story that underlies the origin story of our common origins, which is about the role of women. And women played a very important role going back all those many years, because they were the first chefs, they were the first scientists, they were the first healers. Our ancestors, our grandmothers, discovered the healing power and the edible potential of all of these beautiful plants that we now use that helped us to survive. So in order for me to ensure that that link continues and that we remain authentic into the future, I made a very important decision very early on in our journey. And that is that we would be a very female-forward organization. About 70% of the staff that I employ are all women. They also are very much a part of the history of not only this brand, but as I've mentioned, of our survival. And to make sure that that connection with us and our environment continues, we grow our own fynbos so that we don't put any pressure on the natural environment, and we make sure that there's a full circle economy in terms of our zero waste, using water that we get from the aquifers below the distillery by using wind pumps. So there's a very definite sense of being responsible, and that's been the most difficult. Because of course, as we got bigger and as we expanded, as we're doing now into the UK and into America, it's an easy option often to consider that we should go bigger by mechanizing. And so the commitment that I've made is that all that we will do is we will simply reproduce our model. So the business model that we have employs women to write the labels, women who pick the fynbos, we bottle it, we do the whole process by hand. 16 times you can be certain that that bottle that you've got will be handled by human hands. And so that commitment is that we will rather have another pot still, 2, 3, 4 into the future as we expand, but we will never mechanize. How would I describe our gin in 3 words? Well, it's got to be, first of all, unique, distinctive, and world-class. What is my favorite way of drinking Inverroche gin? Well, for definite, the classic gin is my go-to to take the edge off. So you have to have that in a martini. I think neat, with just maybe an olive or a twist of lemon, and maybe just wave the vermouth over the top. What's next, and what are our plans for the future? One of the benefits of COVID-19 has been the way that we've all been put into a position to find creative ways of communicating with our customers and consumers through the internet. As such, we have developed a virtual reality tour of the distillery. You can go online through our website and walk with me and also meet all these extraordinary women who are working so hard behind the scenes to distill, to create, to label, to write your labels, and to show you exactly what it is that goes into a bottle of Inverroche gin. One of the other alternative options of interacting with us is also through our gin school. We will be able to put this onto our virtual reality experience, and you'll be able to, through an avatar, decide exactly what kind of gin you would like, pick all the different ingredients and see it being distilled. And then you'll be able to receive this extraordinary bottle that you created and that was made for you in South Africa, specially packaged and sent off to be delivered to your door. Thank you very much for spending some time with me. I think in closing, I'd like to just say that I am really very chuffed to be able to have this discussion with you today, and for us to be able to launch in the UK. It really is my second home. I spent the best part of 15 years living in Scotland, so it's very, very dear to my heart. And I hope that you'll be able to find something to remind you of home if you're an expat, and something to discover if you're new to the amazing flavors and stories out of Africa.